friends, here we go. I'm going to go over how to make a found art space base. We are going to put together materials just from whatever's around your house. That can include recycling, it can include maybe items that you found in your yard, and you'll need probably some scissors and probably need some tape. And then a few materials. I gathered some things here. These are washed out and dried recycling items. They make great modules for your space base. Of course, I also have my pen knife, so I can take some of these materials and customize them a little bit. I take the ends off, and obviously, give me just a moment. You can ask for help from a parent or an older sibling for things like cutting this. This does create a sharp edge. Be careful. However, this edge can now be joined with other and fitted together with other cylinders, and we can have some different effects there, like so. So with this one, for example, this is a vitamin water bottle, and I found a little bit of spray paint in the basement, and so I cleaned it out, dried it out, and then spray painted inside the bottle to give it this effect. So now I feel like it's a living quarters module. One of the things that we can do is adding different patches, just smaller pieces of duct tape. We can add some parts to it that might represent windows, or maybe access hatches, or different upgrades that have been added to your space base, or to your, in this case, your living module. I'm going to go with some maintenance hatches and some windows for this. So it's got a little more character now. Great. Alright, so I'm going to take that piece there, and I've got this see-through plastic. I'm going to say that that's maybe the terrarium where the astronauts on this particular base, where they grow different foods as well as maybe plants that can be used to filter and clean their air. Alright. And using stripes of tape, you can also get some different effects and different sections defined by the lines created by those stripes of tape. Alright, so we've got a whole module here. Living compartment along with terrarium, and the terrarium section helps provide clean air for the astronauts in this. However, we're going to need some power modules. Now, one thing that I found, this chip container here actually has black plastic on the inside and blue on the outside. This is one where you definitely need help. This is a really tough plastic to try to cut. However, I found that it does a great job of representing, there we go, of representing solar panels that collect energy for your space base. So, what that looks like, I've got this piece here, and detach it. I can also get fancier. I could maybe use my scissors to cut some notches out and create a nice little solar panel. Some of my materials are prepped ahead of time to make this go fast, but you get to pause this whenever you need to. Alright, so I need some power, so I'm going to go ahead and attach that onto my space station. Now I've got a little dish collecting solar energy, and in fact, if I were to set this out in the sun, a really interesting effect would happen. Because it's black plastic, it would in fact collect some heat. It would be kind of interesting. Alright, I'm going to attach a couple more pieces. Let's see here. There we go. Some panels sticking out, as we often see them at the International Space Station. They have an array that has this particular look going on. pieces of tape here, just to put a piece of duct tape on each side. So this isn't too floppy, and it's got some stability. Alright, now we've got a space station that could be rotating in orbit so that it collects whatever light it can from whichever stars it can as much as possible. Or we can orient this so that all our power cells are facing one way and it doesn't rotate. That works too. This is a great start. And we can also, using different sized container openings, we can use some of these openings to mix together, to meet, and to interlock. So I'm going to use this one here and extend and add on a lab. So I'm just going to wrap this around and give this a little extra tension. The more I pull on this, the tighter the tape gets, and the tighter this tape, the more stable my laboratory module gets to be. Alright, so now we're really rocking here with our space station. It's really taking some different shapes. You can also use materials that are a little easier to work with than plastic bottles, or certainly any other kind of bottle. And cardboard tubes. If you do a little pinch and then put the very crook of the scissors here, you can start your cut, and then put the tip of your scissors in the hole to start cutting and continue around. It's hard work to cut through cardboard for sure, but it's interesting that you can turn it into some really good custom shapes. I'm going to take a little more duct tape now, and I'm going to add on modules branching out. So I'm thinking about this space station in terms of, well, you know, perhaps as the space station grew older, more and more rockets visited it and added compartments and modules and science stations and all kinds of useful tools to the station, which is in fact part of how the International Space Station works. Just each shuttle and rocket that go up have added a little bit more to the overall design. So now I've got that tube extending out in that direction. I'm going to add another tube extending off this direction, if nobody minds. Here we go. And just duct tape it into place. Obviously, there are other ways to attach. I could probably manage to use hot glue for this as well, but it wouldn't be quite as quick. I'd have to hold everything in place and risk burning my fingers, but it's a reasonable approach. If you use something like an aluminum can or a soup can, please get help with that and make sure that any sharp edges on the metal have been taped over. So otherwise the thin metal of soup cans as well as the thin metal of aluminum cans can actually act like a cutting edge, like a blade. And they have a little danger to them. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but it's a really sharp, thin piece of metal. A little bit musical. One thing that you can do, though, is take duct tape and wrap it over the edge to create a safe barrier to keep your fingers and anyone else who's playing with your space station, keep their fingers nice and safe. I'm going to try wrapping some of these really rough edges with some tape. Alright, there's a speedy version, but there we go. Got that sharp edge completely covered, wrapped on the inside as well as on the outside to help protect you. Now I can add this as a module onto one of those travel tubes and give this a little more body and shape. Perhaps this is a repair shop on my space station or my space base. There we go. And if I don't like the coloration that's on the can itself, of course, I can cover it up with these patches of duct tape to give it both a different color and a different design. There we go. I'm much happier with that. Alright, we've got our repair station, we've got our science lab, we've got our terrarium, we've got our living quarters. We've got some solar energy panels. I can also go in, of course, and do some decorating and add some custom elements. And maybe there's a window here, some control panels. I'm going to add all kinds of detail, and Sharpie, of course, will do a great job of adding more detail, even on plastics. You could draw an international UN flag. All kinds of details can be added on here. Also, you can take things like the lids to containers and add those. Now you've got satellite dishes and airlocks for visiting ships. Maybe you've got a sensor array sticking out in one section, and other modules as well to add a little character to your space base. That's looking pretty similar to some of the space bases that are actually floating in orbit. Now, last thing, of course, you got to do is fly a ship up to visit the space base. So take your rocket and visit your space base. All right, friends, great work. Let me know if you have any questions by email. And that is the Found Art Do It Yourself Space Station.